Hey, good evening, everybody. How's it going? Nice to see you all tonight. It's Tuesday night. I was waiting on Joe to see if he was going to come home. He did send me a message and said that he was running late. He wasn't going to be home until about 12:30, that he had to be at court early in the morning. So I just said, well, I was kind of tired anyway. I didn't feel like waiting up that long. I don't think he's planning on streaming anyway because he wouldn't get any sleep and he has to be at court. So, and I was going to go to bed. And I said, you know what? There's some good stories to talk about tonight. So I'll run through a few stories for maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours max. And then, we'll go from there. So nice to see everybody. Happy Friday. Friday. Tuesday. Wow. So first story is, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a kerfuffle in Newark, New Jersey at the ICE facility, the detention center, and the mayor had gotten arrested, and then later a congresswoman got arrested for assaulting the ICE agents. Well, they dropped the charges against the mayor, and whatever, said they were going to move forward. And turns out the mayor now has decided that he wants to sue the U.S. attorney who dropped the charges for false arrest and malicious prosecution. It's pretty crazy. So.
Now, the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, Alina Habba, is here with more.
The governor has on his website currently do's and don'ts. Federal rules are executive orders. And I am unfortunately going to announce on your show tonight, Sean.
All right, I don't know. This has nothing to do with what I thought it did. So, So here we go. We'll just read it. We'll just read this. So here, Newark Mayor and Democratic gubernatorial hopeful Ras Baraka filed a lawsuit Tuesday against the interim U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba, accusing her of false arrest and malicious prosecution. She didn't arrest him. He was arrested by the people on the scene, and she dropped the prosecution, whatever. In connection with his May 9th arrest and charges outside the Federal Immigration Center. The lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court in New Jersey accuses Habba of acting politically in Baraka's May 9th arrest. These Democrats, they truly do believe they're above the law. He was arrested outside Delaney Hall Detention Center near Newark Liberty International Airport. Baraka was arrested during a protest outside the facility after being accused of trespassing and ignoring warnings from law enforcement officials to leave. He was held in custody for several hours before being released. The U.S. Attorney's Office said 13 days after it brought charges against Baraka, it was dismissing the case for the sake of moving forward. The civil lawsuit filed by Baraka's attorney seeks damages for what they described as his false arrest and malicious prosecution. Malicious prosecution is a prosecution when they don't have any grounds for the prosecution. He's on video trespassing, breaking in, pushing his way through the gate to get inside. This should be laughed out of court. But, they're probably going to find some leftist, crazy, inferior lower court judge that's going to let it go on because, whatever. The civil lawsuit filed by Baraka's attorney seeks damage, as well as alleged defamatory remarks Haba made about his case, including on social media. The lawsuits include screenshots of Haba's social media posts in question. Grounds. Speaking at press conference Tuesday afternoon, Baraka's attorney, Nancy Erica Smith, detailed the alleged defamation, noting that before Baraka had even transferred off the property at Delaney Hall or charged, Haba started tweeting from her personal X account that the mayor had committed a crime. He did commit a crime. He was arrested for the crime. This is circular logic that they're going through here. Like, well, you dropped the charges, so I'm going to sue you for saying I committed a crime, even though if they didn't have a good faith belief that you committed the crime, then charging you with the crime would then be malicious prosecution. But because she had a good faith belief to believe you committed a crime, you were charged with said crime. She said you were charged with the crime and committed a crime because she had a good faith belief that you committed the crime. Yeah. I just don't know. I just don't know anymore. This is why you can't give them an inch. You try to be nice. You try to be nice to be like, all right, listen, we're going to drop the charges because we realize you're literally just retarded. So we're going to drop the charges because this is just whatever. And this is what they do then. This is what they do. Haba said in her tweet that no one is above the law. I don't agree with Alina Haba about much, but I agree with that. And today she's finding out that she's not above the law. Okay. Baraka, an outspoken opponent of Trump's immigration policies, was briefly charged with criminal trespassing last month outside Delaney Hall. Yes, he did. He's on video trespassing. He was one of several public officials, including Reps Robert Menendez, LaMonica McIver, who has been charged with felony battery on a police officer or federal agent. That's on video too, lady. And Bonnie Watson Coleman from New Jersey Congressional Delegation, all of whom had masked outside the facility in protest. Wait, no, I thought they were there to do their congressional oversight. So they weren't there for congressional oversight. They were there to participate in an illegal protest. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Haba claimed he ignored multiple warnings from officials to remove himself from the property owned by ICE Detention Center, a contention Baraka disputed. Yeah, this communist, he's a socialist, this guy, a communist. He believes that for some reason, he thinks the city of Newark has control over a federal facility. There's this thing in law called the Supremacy Clause, and the federal government is supreme over the local governments. Local governments can't come into a federal building and boss them around. It just doesn't work that way. After they finally told us to leave, and I told them I was leaving, they came outside the gate and arrested me. I think he's confusing things. So it looked like I was targeted. In the lawsuit, Baraka's lawyers accused Haba of acting as a political operative outside of any function intimately related to the judicial process. No, you committed a crime. It was on videotape. It was on film. You got arrested. It also accuses her of greenlighting the arrest despite clear evidence that male Baraka had not committed the petty offense of defiant trespass. She wasn't there. The people on scene arrested you for breaking the law. The news comes, as soon as they found out you weren't a congressman, you got arrested. The news comes as Baraka, a prominent progressive figure, continues his gubernatorial campaign. This is all about, the only reason they dropped the charges is because he's running for governor, and they did not want to elevate him in the race for the governorship of New Jersey. because, you know, it's pretty tight. And they think an actual Republican who's not Chris Christie could probably win. The news comes, yeah, he's a gubernatorial in his bid to replace outgoing Governor Phil Murphy, who is approaching the end of his 2-term limit. Yeah. Let's see. And then it's also here we have the AP talking about it too. You know, New Jersey mayor sues New Jersey's top federal prosecutor. Yeah, sues prosecutor on Tuesday over his arrest. Braca, yeah, he leads New Jersey's biggest city. It's also the most crime-ridden city. Its lawsuit against the attorney coincided with the day earlier in-person voting began. Oh, so they're basically saying that it coincides with the voting, so he's trying to boost people to come vote for him. They should have never dropped the charges, but they, you know, whatever. The lawsuit seeks damages for false arrest and malicious prosecution. No, a malicious prosecution would be a prosecution that continued with no legal basis to continue the prosecution. That would be malicious prosecution. Citing a post on X in which Haba said Baraka committed trespass, the lawsuit says Haba issued a defamatory statement. Whatever. Yeah, no, he's whatever. Baraka's attorney said they also expect to sue President Trump's administration, but are required to wait 6 months. This is not about revenge. Ultimately, I think it's about them taking accountability for what happened to me. You can't ever give them an inch, man. Can't give them an inch. Email seeking comment left Tuesday in Haba's office. Social Security Patel works. Videos captured outside. The episode outside Delaney Hall Federal Immigration Detention Center has had dramatic fallout. It began on May 9th when Baraka tried to join 3 Democratic members of Congress. We went through that, who went to the facility for an oversight tour. Something off right under federal law. An outspoken critic of Trump's immigration crackdown at the detention center was denied entry. So it says he was denied entry. Video from the ad showed him walking from the facility side fence to side street where the people have been protesting. Uniformed officials that came to arrest him. No. See, that's not all that happened. Charged with trespass. Magistrate rebuked Haba's office after removing to dismiss the charges. They hastily arrested Newark mayor, followed by swiftly dismissing these trespassing charges. Mayor 13th Taylor suggests a worrisome misstep from your office, he wrote. No, you see, McIver decried the charges. Plan to fight them. Braca said after aftermath of the withdrawal charge meant he had to explain it in the media and argue his case that he had done nothing wrong. It says New Jersey's targeted over so-called sanctuary policy. Delaney Hall, a 1,000-bed facility, opened early last year. There's a federal immigration detention center. Which owns and operates the property, was awarded a 15-year contract valued at $1 billion. The announcement was part of the president's plan to sharply increase detention beds nationwide from a budget of about 41,000 beds this year. So wait, we only have 41,000. We only have 41,000 detention beds for illegal immigrants, and like millions are coming in every year. I think we need to bump those numbers up. Baraka sued Geo soon after the deal was announced. Oh. Then on May 23rd, Trump Justice Department filed a suit against Newark and 3 other New Jersey cities over their so-called sanctuary policies. There's no legal definition for sanctuary city policies, but they generally limit cooperation with federal immigration officials. New Jersey's Attorney General had a statewide directive prohibiting local police from collaborating in federal civil immigration matters. The police are aimed at policies are aimed at barring cooperation on civil enforcement matters, not at blocking cooperation on criminal matters. They specifically carve out an exception for when immigration and customs enforcement supplies police with a judicial criminal warrant. The Justice Department said through the cities won't notify ICE when criminal arrests are made, according to the suit. It's unclear whether Baraka's role in these fights with the White House is affecting his campaign for governor. He's one of 6 candidates seeking a Democratic nomination on June 10th to succeed term-limited Governor Phil Murphy. On Tuesday, Baraka explained the timing of the suit as an effort to get this case before the court before it was too late. He described his arrest as follows. Yeah, he wanted to get it for him, right in time for the election. Yeah. But I also think it's about us not responding is consent. In the video ad in the election's final weeks, Baraka's embraced the theme his rivals are also pushing, affordability. He says he'll cut taxes while some of the images show him standing in front of what appears to be Delaney Hall. He doesn't mention immigration or the arrest specifically, saying, I'll keep Trump out of your homes and out of your lives. What the fuck is wrong with you? Sorry. Trump has endorsed Jack Ciattarelli, one of several Republicans running in the gubernatorial, Ciattarelli or something, gubernatorial primary. Ciattarelli has said if he's elected, he'll first executive order will be to end any sanctuary policies. So here's the civil complaint, which Joe could explain better if he was here. Like I say, I am not a lawyer, although I play one on the internet, for what that's worth. There's the plaintiff, Mas Mayor Raz Baraka, residing in Newark, New Jersey. The plaintiff brings this action seeking damages to remedy defendant subject him to false arrest, malicious prosecution, blah, blah, blah. Defamation against Haba. I would think there's going to be a quick dismissal, motion to dismiss for a failure to state a claim, because this doesn't look like a 1984 action or what's the other one called? There's another name for it. Bowden. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know all these names. So. Jurisdiction and venue. Facts relevant. Says duly elected. He went there. Says he went there to protest and started punching people with a person. And he says he runs with gangs and nobody can tell him what to do. And just think of that in Cartman's voice. It's all just baloney. They're just padding it with stuff about. It says Congressman McIver invited Baraka to meet her and the colleagues for an inspection. She has no authority to invite someone who's not a congressperson. So, anyway. So there's that. He has no grounds to sue. All right. Now here's something else here. I don't know. This says Trump flipped on us. MAGA reacts to potential national citizen database. This is about this Palantir story that they're talking about. That supposedly there's a nationwide database they're creating of all American citizens, which I'm pretty sure the NSA already has that. I don't know why they would want to outsource that to a private company. But this is what's odd about this. What's very odd about this is the fact that this story that they're writing, they're quoting a person who all these newspapers call a white supremacist or a white nationalist. They're quoting Nick Fuentes, the guy that hangs out with Kanye. This is crazy. It's nuts. The supporters of President Donald Trump expressed anger and disbelief online because actually Fuentes did not support Trump. He told people not to vote for him before the election. Yeah. So this is all baloney. Supporters of President Trump expressed anger and disbelief online following reports that his administration has advanced plans to create a national citizen database with technology firm Palantir. Newsweek reached out to Palantir for comment, and obviously they didn't comment. It says, why it matters. The White House has contracted Palantir, a Colorado-based analytics company co-founded by Trump supporter Peter Thiel, to assist in compiling a database of personal information on American citizens, according to an unnamed government official. So anonymous sources are just making stuff up. They spoke to the New York Times. The reported deal follows project talks Palantir had with Social Security and the Department of Education. So yeah, I think they wanted Palantir to look at Social Security and the Department of Education to actually track what kind of money is being spent, where it's going, and make sure that people aren't getting robbed. The reaction from Trump supporters reflected growing unease with conservative circles, indicating a rare rupture between the president and key segments of his constituency. The controversy underscores nationwide anxiety around privacy, civil liberties, and the growing influence of technology firms over personal information management. What to know? Palantir deal marks a significant development in government data collection, drawing sharp concern from privacy advocates to Trump's own core base, otherwise known as MAGA. Detractors compared to the centralized database effort to surveillance initiatives in authoritarian regimes. Numerous pro-Trump voices expressed dismay and feelings of betrayal across social media platforms like X. People are so quick to suggest I flipped on Trump. No. I didn't flip on Trump. Trump flipped on us. I'm just not willing to continue to live in the lie. And I will tell you the unfortunate truth about it. The Patriot Voice wrote on X to his 158,000 followers. The Hodge twins, popular conservatives and Trump supporters, have more than 3.3 million followers on X. In response to the New York Times report they wrote on May, hope this ain't true, y'all. Hope this ain't true, y'all. So, yeah, they hope that the anonymously sourced. So see, this is how the circular reporting stuff goes. It's reported here anonymously, and then they get other people to report on what people said about the anonymous stuff. And basically, it's spin, repeat, put it in the wash, spin, repeat, and stick it and run it around. You know, another post the same day reads, "Don't know if this is true, but I didn't vote for this." Nick Fuentes, a far-right Trump supporter described as American First, he did not support Trump prior to the election. Anyone pay attention to that or not realize that? Said that Palantir is the ultimate betrayal of his own people, feeding every MAGA extremist into an AI database controlled by CIA Mossad cutout, Fuentes said on X, where he has roughly 561,000 followers. Seriously, if Palantir isn't the deep state, then what is? In a video recorded by Fuentes, this is all about they're trying to tie Fuentes back to Trump. In a video recorded by Fuentes, who also has a Rumble channel viewed over 31 million times. So his total views are over 31 million. Wow, good for him. That's a lot of views. He said the following: they are tracking everybody that criticized Israel, everybody that interacts with somebody that's criticizing Israel. And whether you're on a visa or not, whether you're a citizen or not, whether you're brown or not, Christian or Muslim, they're putting you in a Palantir database. They're putting you on the enemies list if you don't see the problem with that. I'm beginning to think it started when Donald J. Trump walked down that escalator before 2016, wrote an ex-user with the moniker Redneck Common Sense. And seriously? Redneck, come on. Really? Really? Oh, let's see. What did you put in here? WikiLeaks wrote a story about it. We'll get to that in a second. Hold on. So all these, they're going to list all these ex-users and just random people that said stuff. Palantir secured more than 113 million in federal contracts since Trump took office, including a recent 795 million agreement with the Department of Defense. Wait a minute. They secured more than 113 million in federal contracts, including a recent 795 million. Well, wouldn't the recent 795 million mean the 113 million is actually a hell of a lot more? So this article doesn't track. Were maybe these recent agreements with the Department of Defense actually in place before Trump was ever sworn in? Because something doesn't make sense with their math. According to the New Republic, the data analytics platform Foundry has already been deployed at the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Health and Human Services, potentially enabling cross-agency information sharing. Supposedly unhyphenated, they just submitted a rescissions bill for $9 billion or $10 billion. It just I have it somewhere where to get rid of the money for PBS and NPR and stuff, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Shady centralized dossiers on citizens are the foundation for attacking civil liberties and civil rights and civil liberties, but paper files have long been replaced by a mishmash of electronic forms, biometrics, and data bought off of data brokers. Hi, Aquatic Nomad. How you doing? Other critics, including China's, they're comparing the plan to China's social credit score. No, this Palantir database isn't like the others, Bassler wrote on X. It will combine tax filing, student debt. Well, what people are saying, I don't know. Palantir has yet to respond. I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I don't know if this is true. I mean, if it's true and they're doing all this stuff, I'm not really a big fan of it. I don't like it. But we'd have to wait and see. So let's see. This is the story that Spuds put in the chat. It's from WikiLeaks, which WikiLeaks has been right more times about stuff than they've been wrong. But then again, I'm very suspicious of WikiLeaks because of whatever deal was made with the Biden administration, and they had to turn over all their stuff to the government. So who knows who's even running this anymore? Is it the CIA running this, trying to mess with Trump still? Who knows? Palantir is engaged in a major expansion of the American surveillance state. Spyware company Palantir is engaged in large-scale data collection on American citizens, having taken on multiple contracts across the federal governments with large holdings of private information. A March 2025 executive order signed by Trump mandated all federal agencies to remove all barriers to intra- and interagency sharing of unclassified records. Okay, if it's unclassified records, why wouldn't they be shared? At the same time, the administration is committing hundreds of millions of dollars to Palantir, a major intelligence contractor whose CEO, Alex Karp, told an investor call, Palantir is here to disrupt and when it's necessary to scare our enemies and on occasion kill them. Well, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Palantir's data analytics products foundry is already installed within 4 federal agencies. Okay, who put him there? So widespread deployment will give the administration unprecedented warrantless access to the private records of everyone in the United States. If the government already has the records, they don't need a warrant to look at the records they already have. I mean, doesn't everybody realize that? So, yeah, I'm not gonna read a Mother Jones article. This ties back into the stuff we were talking about last week about the Sentinel program with the FBI hiding documents that no one could see. So it says, U.S. attorney vetting evidence of Biden corruption did not know of the FBI's ability to hide documents. What do you know? Did FBI headquarters bury Hunter Biden laptop in prohibited access black hole? The United States attorney screening evidence related to Ukrainian corruption in the lead up of the 2020 election did not know the FBI's Sentinel case management system had a stealth feature to render files invisible during search queries. Nor did anyone from FBI headquarters reference the existence of such prohibited access files during discussions over access to relevant material related to Burisma and Hunter Biden. These new facts add to the growing scandal surrounding last week's revelation that special counsel Robert Mueller's team placed documents related to the Russia collusion hoax in prohibited access subfiles, preventing other FBI agents from discovering their existence. On Wednesday, Senator Chuck Grassley released a 43-page electronic communication, or EC, drafted by an FBI agent out of the Washington field office. That lengthy memo, dated September 18, 2019, detailed the agent's need for access to materials within the control and remnants of the special counsel Robert Mueller's office for purposes of Washington field office's investigation into whether Nellie Orr had lied to Congress in her testimony. While the EC cataloged the extensive evidence against Nellie Orr, seeking to convince the post-Mueller special counsel's office to release the additional potentially relevant evidence, the introductory discussion of the FBI Sentinel case management exposed 2 earth-shattering details. First, the EC explained that the FBI Sentinel case management system allowed investigative materials to be coded prohibited access, which renders the files not merely inaccessible to other agents, but invisible to them. And second, special counsel Robert Mueller's team designated the Trump-Russia collusion investigations prohibited access in Sentinels, meaning any agents running keyword searches in Sentinel would wrongly believe there was no responsive documents. Wednesday morning, the Federalist broke further news that several U.S. attorneys were unaware of the prohibited access functionality. By midday, the Federalist learned that senior officials did not know the FBI case management database Sentinel allowed agents to conceal the existence of evidence, and that no one from the special counsel's office mentioned the documents related to the investigation to the Trump campaign had been rendered invisible by use of the prohibited access coding in Sentinel, even though they knew the Department of Justice was investigating the origins and handling of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Wow. Now another former U.S. attorney is speaking out about the growing scandal. Scott Brady, who serves as a U.S. attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania under Trump. Did we read this yesterday? I don't know. And no one from the special counsel's team mentioned prohibited access. Brady told the Federalists that no one from FBI headquarters read potential. Yes. Why does this look from? Did I read this yesterday, or am I just same stuff? So yeah, so they hid all the stuff for Ukrainian. The search terms would have included words related to evidence of Ukrainian corruption being vetted, such as queries into Burisma, Zolochevsky being the name of the founder of the Ukrainian oil gas giant that paid Hunter Biden millions of dollars. According to Brady, agents of both Pittsburgh and FBI office and FBI headquarters ran the Sentinel searches and then provided him with the results. Brady told the Federalists that Sentinel search results that were shared with him revealed no hits related to Hunter Biden laptop or material related found on the laptop. In fact, Brady didn't even know the New York Post broke the story in October after Brady's team had concluded its investigation. Wow. Whether the FBI hid reports on the Hunter Biden laptop or other documents relevant to the Brady's vetting of the evidence of the Biden family and Ukrainian corruption behind the prohibited access coding is unknown. It does appear, though, that the FBI headquarters had the ability, as an Inspector General's report on the Sentinel case management system explained, that the Sentinel system required to stipulate the Sentinel will be provided the capability to control access beyond and upon user roles, in addition to allowing FBI leadership and FBI headquarters and field offices to define user roles and responsibilities to fit their records management operating procedures. Wow. Given that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team secreted evidence in Sentinel by using privileged access coding, it wouldn't be a surprise to learn that FBI headquarters followed a similar track to protect the Biden family. In fact, given the lengths the FBI headquarters went to interfere with the investigation of Hunter Biden, as detailed by the IRS whistleblowers, if anything, it would be shocking if the FBI headquarters didn't bury evidence about Ukrainian corruption in the prohibited access files. It would be shocking if they didn't. Unfortunately, it'll be some time before the country knows how widespread the FBI's use of the prohibited access was and how many investigations it potentially impacted. So, there's that. That seems pretty crazy. This is an interesting story. It says a Romanian national, 26 years old, pleads guilty to swatting over 75 public officials, including a former U.S. president. A Romanian national pleaded guilty on Monday to charges related to his role in swatting ring that targeted dozens of public officials, including a former U.S. president. Going by the aliases Plank, Jonah, or Cypher, 26-year-old Thomas Zazbo took part in years-long conspiracy to place bogus 911 calls claiming emergencies were taking place at the homes of top government officials and make bomb threats against government buildings and houses of worship, according to the Justice Department. Zabo, a 21-year-old Serbian national, Nemanja Radovanic or something. Allegedly targeted about 100 people, including members of Congress, governors, cabinet level executive office members, and state officials. One of their alleged victims is identified as former elected official from the executive branch who was swatted on January 9th, 2024, when Radovanic falsely reported a murder at the home of former president or vice president who was not named in the indictment and threatened to blow up the person's residence. Several of the victims were selected by Zazbo, who directed Radovanic to place the emergency calls targeting both Republicans and Democrats, according to the indictment. We are not on any side, Zazbo told Radovanic. The menacing call started around December 2020 when Zazbo called a crisis intervention hotline and threatened to commit a mass shooting at multiple unspecified synagogues in New York. Well, that's scummy to do. Around January 17, 2021, Zazbo allegedly called another crisis intervention hotline and threatened to detonate explosives at the U.S. Capitol building and then unalive then President Joe Biden. The duo's last swatting call listed in the indictment was placed by Radovanic on January 9, 2024, which reported a homicide at the home of a state governor. Zazbo, who was extradited from Romania last November, pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy and one count of making bomb threats. He is slated to be sentenced in Washington, D.C. federal court in October. The defendant led a dangerous swatting criminal conspiracy, deliberately threatening dozens of government officials with violent hoaxes and targeting our nation's security infrastructure behind a screen overseas. Pam Bondi said in a statement, this case reflects our continued focus on protecting the American people and working with international partners to stop these threats at their source. FBI Director Kash Patel declared the swatting will not be tolerated by the FBI. But what are you doing to stop it, FBI? What are you doing to stop it? Today's Osmo pleaded guilty to a years-long conspiracy that targeted victims with swatting and bomb threats, including to government buildings, houses of worship, homes of government officials. Patel said in a statement, swatting endangers lives and will not be tolerated by the FBI. We are fully committed to working with our partners to bring to justice those criminals who are hiding behind keyboards and threatening violence. Charges against Radovanagich are still pending. Okay. All right. All right. Now there's been this whole new thing too that I've been seeing, which let me pull it up here. Oh, here's this real quick. This is the letter. This is the letter that Trump sent to Congress. This is the rescission thing where it says, in accordance with Section 1012A of Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, 2 U.S.C. 683A, I herewith report 22 rescissions of budget authority totaling $9.4 billion. The proposed rescissions affect programs of the Department of State, as well as the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the United States Agency for International Development, the United States Institute of Peace, and other international assistance programs. The details of these rescissions are set forth in an enclosed letter from the Director of Office of Management and Budget. So now this letter went over, so it's just a simple, this just be a simple vote to pull it back. So, yeah, see, White House sends Congress a $9.4 billion rescission package. Should have been like $150 billion or $200 billion, in my opinion. Yeah. And this is Secretary of State Hogsett has instructed the Navy to rename the ship that was named after gay rights activist Harvey Milk during the Obama administration. Milk had a 16-year-old boyfriend when he was in his mid-30s. Just let that sink in. Obama named a Navy ship after a guy who had relations with a minor. What's next? They're going to name ships after Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby? Let me see here. This is an interesting story. Why so many people are having strokes in their 20s, 30s, and 40s? We've never had so many patients so young. Anyone have any guesses? Anyone? Any guesses what could be causing all these young people to have strokes? Should I click the link and find out? Yeah. Why so many people are having strokes in their 20s, 30s, and 40s? We've never had so many patients die young. Strokes are on the rise among younger people, with a recent CDC report revealing that a 14.6% increase among people 18 to 24 from 2020 to 2022. Wow, what happened between 2020 and 2022? Anyone? Fry? Bueller? Yeah. We've never had so many patients so young. The alarming trend has been stumping medical professionals. One expert had shared some intriguing theories with the Post. Stumping them, huh? They can't figure it out, huh? We don't think about stroke in 20-year-old patients. We feel more pressure from caring for these patients because they're so young. And Adani recently treated not one, but two extremely young adults who had a stroke. And Falcon, Aubrey Hazley, 24, 23. Their strokes came into a huge surprise to, well, everyone, especially since they were both, by all common standards, healthy. I wonder if there's anything they had in common. You know? And Adani believes both their strokes were embolic. embolic, which means they originated elsewhere in the body and traveled to the brain instead of being formed in the brain's blood vessels. Both were taking oral contraceptives. Oh, so they're going to blame it on oral contraceptives. So the pill caused the strokes. I mean, I guess, but noting that Aubrey had a patent foramen ovale, PFO, or a hole in her heart, which was likely contributed to her stroke by allowing a clot to bypass the lungs and travel to the brain. An overall increased risk among young adults. The exact reason is not fully understood. However, it's likely related to a rise in traditional cerebrovascular risk factors such as hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol and obesity. That lady didn't look obese at all. Lifestyle factors like increased stress, long working hours, man. None of these younger generation people work at all. Come on. But there are other factors at play too. Folk know that she has been working a lot and is stroked out and consuming a lot of caffeine. The product she was drinking contains 200 milligrams of caffeine per can. Experts recommend no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day for healthy adults. While there's no clear evidence directly linking energy drinks to the stroke, several studies have reported increased risk of hypertension and cardiac arrhythmias such as atrial fibrillation associated with their use. She doesn't look fat either, does she? No. These conditions are known risk factors for stroke, so it is plausible that energy drinks may contribute to an elevated risk, especially in vulnerable individuals. There's nothing else that these people might have taken into their body. Indeed, Scarsdale cardiologist and TikTok star Dr. Evan Levine, TikTok star, has previously told the Post that he considers energy drinks to be one of the 4 worst drinks for heart health. Oh, what's worse? Battery? Never mind. Levine also pointed the finger at popularity of Adderall. Oh, the ease at which it can be obtained, especially with the rise of telehealth companies. In April 2024, they find that when you follow them for 8 years, young, healthy people aged 20 to 40, they have a 57% higher risk than young, healthy people not on these meds. Regarding Adderall, evidence is mixed. While most studies did not show a strong association between Adderall use and stroke, some studies did. What studies were those? Did those studies examine any other factors people might have gotten? While energy drinks and Adderall could play a role in the rise of strokes among young adults, they likely contribute to a lesser degree than more well-established risk factors such as obesity, physical inactivity, and chronic stress. Neither one of those girls was obese. Neither one of them looked like they had chronic stress. All right, so there's that story. But I wonder what it could be. I wonder what started happening around 2020 that could be causing this. If only we knew. Only there was an answer. If only there was an answer. Anyway, there's been let's see this other one. Where's that? I've been seeing a lot of posts trying to link like all these, basically blame a bunch of stuff on Trump, like basically saying like, here, there we go. Like this one, like price increases could hit canned soup, dishwashers, cars, and an array of other products as a result of President Trump's planned hike on steel and aluminum tariffs. So there's this story. Yeah, see? And then this one here, manufacturing down, food expensive, and ICE is deporting moms. Happy now, MAGA? What they're trying to do here is they're trying to basically seed the water with the stuff so that people will believe Steve Hilliard, I believe so. I just can't say it on here. but I believe something started in 2020. That's all I'll say on the matter. So Trump's hikes of steel and aluminum tariffs could raise these prices. Okay. Could lower them too. Price increases could hit canned soup, dishwashers, cars, and an array of other products as a result of President Trump's planned hike on steel and aluminum tariffs. Well, here's an idea. Why don't we start making steel in the United States again? Maybe. Trade experts told ABC News that fresh tariffs will likely raise prices for some goods made out of the two metals, since importers of the raw material typically pass along a share of the higher costs to consumers. There's some words there, typically, and a share. In social media posts on Sunday, Trump touted the policy as a means of protecting domestic steel producers and safeguarding a supply of key materials. We're going to produce our own metal, unleash our own energy, secure our own future, build our own country, control our own destiny. We are once again going to put the Pennsylvania steel back to the backbone of America like never before. Okay. Steel is the top material by weight in car, accounting for about 60% of its weight. According to the American Iron and Steel Institute, once steel imports face stiff taxes, experts forecast the price of steel paid by U.S. manufacturers will rise, meaning higher input costs for automakers. Those companies, they add, are likely to hike prices for consumers as a means of offsetting some of the costs. William Hawk, a professor of economics at the University of South Carolina who studies international trade, said a new tariff level could raise the price of a car by $2,000 to $4,000. I guess. Trump previously imposed a 25% tariff on cars and car parts, but in April, the president said the auto tariffs would not stack on top of steel and aluminum tariffs, meaning levies related to the two metals will count towards tariffs on a given vehicle only once. I am extremely tired, guys. Yeah, here's another one, the same kind of thing, where it says manufacturing down, food expensive, and ICE is deporting moms. Happy now, MAGA? Opinion. They all must go if they're here illegally. That's the bottom line. Let's take a quick look at the MAGA agenda checklist. Lower grocery prices? No. Actually, grocery prices are way down. Eggs are way down. Yeah. Increased manufacturing? Nope. Well, I think they're increasing manufacturing. I think you're lying. Increased spending on home construction? Sorry, no. Well, here's the problem is that right now we have a glut of houses on the market. There's 2.6 million houses for sale and only 1.7 million people looking to buy houses. So we have what's known as a glut. So until more people are buying houses, which they can't do with interest rates being so high and there not being a steady employment, a good labor market, you got to fix that first, man. Supporting moms and beloved community members? Yes, a million times yes. What beloved community members? If you're an illegal alien into this country, you're not a member of our community. You're not a member of our community if you're an illegal alien. That's the bottom line. Sorry. No, I'm not bored. I'm just really tired. I don't know why. And I thought Joe was going to stream tonight. I thought I was going to stream with Joe, but then he kind of said he was getting home late, so he didn't, wasn't going to stream. And I said I was going to go to sleep, and I said, you know what? I got all these topics. I had them already loaded in my computer. I might as well just run for an hour or so and just run through them real quick. That way, I don't know. People like it. They can watch. If they don't, they could leave a comment telling me to go away. Don't go away mad. Just go away. So, yeah. If you voted for President Trump and you're hoping for something good would happen to you, feel free to say, oops. Yeah, see, they're just trying to push the stuff that everyone's regretting Trump. Oh, God, you're regretting it. No, I'm not pounding Red Bull, Steve, because I do want to go to sleep. I'm drinking iced tea. I do want to go to sleep when I'm done streaming, so I figured I would go for an hour and a half, max 2 hours. Pat who? Glad Corp. Pat who? Thank you, None Your Business. If you voted for him out of a thirst to see immigrants who have committed no crime suffer and live in fear, then feel free to say yes. All immigrants. Oh, Pat Dixon? I think he is streaming, actually. Didn't he start streaming at 11? I think he streams every night at 11 on Rumble only. The vast majority of them did commit crimes. They using fake documentation to work. Thanks for the cast. I don't know what that means. Cast. Motley Crue lyrics. Did I? Maybe. All right, unhyphenated. It's cool because that's where we are at the start of June 2025. Trump's promises of a better life for Americans are proving empty. I don't know. It seems pretty good to me. I'm doing okay. And his promises to round up millions of criminals and deport them hasn't materialized. So you guys keep taking them to court and fighting and stopping everything. What are you doing? Every step of the way, you're trying to stop them from deporting the criminals. I don't understand it. They want full blown, all, trials with hearings and juries and everything for every deportation. So how, what the hell? Oh, it's all because the claim of millions of criminal immigrants in America was a lie in the first place. No, it's not a lie. There are millions of criminal aliens in the country. 50 million. Instead, the administration has resorted to grabbing immigrants at courthouses where they're appearing for hearings. In other words, following the rules. No, they're not following the rules. No, they didn't follow the rules when they came in. So if they enter illegally and not the report of entry, they are eligible for immediate expedited removal. That's the law. That's in the Immigration and Naturalization Act, the INA. So it doesn't matter where they grab them. They grab them wherever they want. Yeah. Milford students, these kids are, look at them. Oh, wow. Yeah, look at these kids. You notice something about this picture of these kids saying free Marco? I don't see a boy in the picture. Oh, here's a story. A trans athlete won in California. Her peers cheered, exposing the truth. So this is a story claiming that the girls that are losing to these trans athletes, they actually enjoy it. They liked it. It's a fetish they have to be humiliated by a man, I guess. Yeah, see? Hate is a learned behavior that Republicans seem happy to teach. The latest lesson is on transphobia. Over the weekend, California held its high school track and field meet. It's the kind of thing would normally bring happiness and all this stuff for parents, coaches, and college recruiters. But this event was different because of the participation of A.B. Hernandez, a 16-year-old transgender girl who's actually a boy, who in recent days had been the focus of national attention because it allowed a trans girl to compete in categories not aligned with their gender. What? No, that's not true. Jesus Christ, this word salad that these people play is ridiculous. While Trump didn't mention Hernandez by name, it was clear he was referring to. Yeah. Hernandez shared first place in the high jump and triple jump, as well as second in the long jump. While some heckled her as she competed, they were drowned out by cheers. Yeah, whatever. So here's the bottom line. Yeah, they want you to believe that. First they tell you remember, this is the rules of radicals. This is the Communist Manifesto. They tell you it's not happening. You're crazy. Then they tell you, well, it's they tell you, well, maybe it's not, but it's not really that big of a deal. And then they tell you, well, yeah, of course it's happening, and it's a good thing. Everybody's cheering, and so should you. Yeah. The same thing, Trans athlete wins 2 girls events at California track and field. Yeah. It's ridiculous. This has to stop. Here's a good feel-good story for you guys. These families say they're leaving the U.S. because it's anti-transgender climate. One of the families said they decided to move from Colorado to New Zealand after their 9-year-old trans daughter's health care was interrupted. There's no such thing as a 9-year-old trans person. These parents should be taken and imprisoned. They are suffering from Munchausen by proxy. They are harming their child. This is no different than a person giving their child heroin. Denver parents Brandon and Candace are spending tens of thousands of dollars to move to New Zealand in July. The reason, they said, is to protect their 9-year-old transgender daughter, Chase, from the effects of the Trump administration's policies and an increasingly hostile climate for trans people in the United States. You're taught to believe, or indoctrinated, I suppose, in America that this is the land of the free and that all of that, and for my child's rights to be stripped away from them just being herself is gross. Your child was taught this by somebody. Somebody put this in the kid's head. This wasn't something that the kid came up with on their own. It's not. It's not. Brandon and Candace, who agreed to speak on the condition that their last names not be used to protect their family from harassment threats, are one of 5 families interviewed by NBC News that have already left or plan to leave the country. I mean, I don't want anyone to feel they have to leave the country, but if all the people with trans kids did leave the country, wouldn't that solve the problem? We wouldn't have to worry about it anymore? Let some other country worry about it? I don't know if many other countries that allow 9-year-olds to get hormone replacement, puberty blockers, and all that stuff. Didn't England stop doing it? I don't know. They're coming. They're coming to the land down under. Or whatever. I don't know. That's not New Zealand, is it? Whatever. Their families describe fear of increased anti-trans violence. What anti-trans violence? What anti-trans violence? I've only seen nothing but trans violence. The school, it's nonstop violent trans people. It's like, anyway, I'm gonna get out of this story too because I don't. Yeah, doctors need to be held accountable. U.S. attorney vetting evidence of Biden corruption did not know of the FBI's ability to hide documents. Did I read this one already? I did read this one already. What the hell? Sorry. I screwed that up. Rift. Trump administration asks court to enjoin San Francisco judge. So this is a judge that basically thinks he gets to decide. It thinks he gets to decide who the executive branch hires and fires. You know. As we continue to await the Supreme Court's ruling on nationwide or universal injunction question, the Trump administration has filed yet another request to block a district court order that prevents it from implementing a reduction in force policy. The request in Trump v. American Federation of Government Employees could have major implications for other such orders, even without the ruling in birthright citizenship case. On February 11, 2025, President Trump issued an executive order seeking to reduce the size of the federal government through RIFs, reduction in force. Executive Order number 14-210-90, Regular Federal Regulation 9669, February 14, 2025, App Infra 1A3A. President Donald Trump directed federal agencies to promptly undertake preparations to initiate large-scale reductions in force RIFs consistent with the applicable law. So if he told them to do it consistent with the applicable law, and they're doing it consistent with the applicable law, how does a judge have any authority to stop them? I'll wait. Someone to tell me. They don't. That would seem well within the authority of the president, consistent with many presidents who ran on downsizing the federal government. Indeed, President Bill Clinton issued such an order at the start of his presidency. Indeed, under Section 3502 of Title V, OPM is allowed to prescribe regulations for the release of competing employees and a reduction in force. lays out a process including notice of a RIF, generally 60 days, to agency employees and their collective bargaining representatives, including notice of any appeal or other rights which may be available. In the case brought by unions, advocacy groups in San Francisco, senior U.S. District Judge Susan Ilston blocked large-scale reductions in the federal workforce in what some believe is one of the greatest intrusions into Article II authority in the federal record, in the record number of injunctions coming from the federal district courts. In its filing on Monday, the Trump administration maintains that Ilston's order interferes with the executive branch's internal operations and unquestioned legal authority to plan and carry out RIFs, and does so on a government-wide scale. The Supreme Court had previously asked to intervene but failed to take action. The administration then withdrew that request after Ilston issued a preliminary injunction and then appealed to the Ninth Circuit, which, in a divided decision, refused to lift the injunction. The original order runs against the grain of the Constitution, as the Supreme Court declared in Celia Law, LLC versus Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The entire executive power belongs to the president alone. He must have the power of overseeing and controlling those who execute the laws. Moreover, the executive order takes pains to avoid potential conflicts by stipulating that in ordering any RIFs, agencies should ensure that they do not eliminate any subcomponents that are statutorily required or prevent the performance of functions that are mandated by statute or other law. It is also expressly states that agencies should review their statutory authority to ensure their plans and actions are consistent with such authority. Judge Ilston's order seems to me well outside the navigational beacons for the court under the separations of powers. There's potential issues raised with large-scale RIFs, but her order sweeps far too broadly, in my opinion. How the court deals with this matter could foreshadow the opinion to come on national or universal injunctions. However, even with the scope of the injunction, there are ample concerns over underlying claim of judicial authority in this matter. Here is the administrative filing for stay. Can we read it? Oh, this is 94 pages. We're not gonna read this whole thing. 94 pages. Basically, just lay it all out. It just says they're appealing. Okay. So this is a disturbing story. This says, disgusted, Tucker Carlson turns on Republican Party after Congressman calls for Gaza to be nuked.
Hey, babe, do you want to go tubing tomorrow?
Oh, good idea.
I think we should call Bobby and Tom and see if they want.
Of Florida. And he said this the other day on Fox News last week, quote, in World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. We did not negotiate a surrender with the Japanese. We nuked the Japanese twice in order to get unconditional surrender. That needs to be the same here in Gaza. There is something deeply wrong with this culture, and it needs to be defeated.
He's newly elected. Like in the last, he filled it was Mike Waltz or Matt Gage's seat, one or the other.
It was Waltz, I think.
Waltz, yeah.
So I texted a friend of mine in Congress. Is this really a member of Congress? Yes. So like, I don't even know what to say to that, but that, first of all, it's evil. But how can you say something like that and not get expelled from Congress or the Republican? How can that person be a member of the Republican Party? Congressman Randy Fine.
Well, I mean, a congressman could say whatever he wants like that. He's not. I don't understand how. I mean, I don't agree with that statement that's saying that you should nuke Gaza. But I don't. What happened to free speech, Tucker Carlson? All of a sudden, he's trying to restrict the speech of a congressman to be able to say something on social media. I mean, it seems, I mean, where is he calling for the speech of AOC and for all these other people to be restricted? Because I don't remember hearing that. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. Let's read this. See if they elaborate more. What? Come on, get out of there. Get out of there. Close. 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 Why won't it? What the? Oh, now I'm getting pissed. It won't close the pop-up? Why is this? Seriously? Tucker Carlson said he's not sure he can support the Republican Party after a Florida congressman called for Gaza to be nuked. Okay, Tucker, go ahead and support the Democrats then. See how that works out for you. Congressman Randy Fine, who was recently elected to replace Mike Waltz in Florida as the preferred candidate of President Donald Trump, made the jaw-dropping comments in a Fox News interview last month. He said, in World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. Well, let's be real. There was people talking to Nazis leadership, not Hitler, but other people in the Nazi party, negotiating stuff, working things out. Alan Dulles, to be exact, was, and Wild Bill Donovan and people like those people in the OSS were talking to people. They set up this whole thing, Operation Gladio, which is a thing you might want to look into if you think people weren't talking to the Nazis. Operation Paperclip. How do you think that happened? They weren't talking to the Nazis. Come on, NASA wouldn't be there. Exactly. Yeah, we nuked Japan twice in order to get unconditional surrender. No, technically, we didn't have an unconditional surrender, though. I mean, we say we did, but we let the emperor stay the emperor, though, didn't we? Didn't we? Didn't we? There's something deeply wrong with this culture and it needs to be defeated. Oh, okay. There is something deeply wrong with that culture. It does need to be defeated. The extraordinary comment sparked widespread outrage and prompted a response from Hamas itself. Who gives a frick what Hamas says? Carlson, speaking on his podcast alongside Glenn Greenwald, said he was so easily taken aback from his comments that initially thought they could have been made by a real politician. Huh. Hey, didn't Glenn Greenwald just get exposed for being like a super duper degenerate? Odd. I text a friend of mine in Congress, Carl said, this person who I confirmed is a real person. I didn't believe it at first. I don't believe this real member of Congress. I'm starting to think Tucker Carlson might not be that smart. It's evil. How can you say something like that and not get expelled from Congress? Okie dokie. Can we expel all the people that are calling for us to get involved in Ukraine and all this stuff, want us to, to basically attack Russia and start a nuclear war with Russia? Because there's a whole bunch of people in Congress talking like crazy stuff about Russia. We can't make, but that's okay. But just not the Gazans, right? Carlson went on to say that Fine's comments had made him question whether he could remain loyal to the Republican Party. Well, you don't sound very loyal to anybody, and you shouldn't be loyal to any party. You should be loyal to what's good for you. And that's it. And if the party is no longer what's good for you, you don't vote for anybody in that party. You vote for the people. I don't know if I could support a party with somebody like Randy Fine in it, so it's so disgusting. No, but then go support a party that's got AOC in it and Jasmine Crockett and the rest of those people. Go ahead. Ilhan Omar, support her. There you go. Much better. You should have voted for Kamala Harris then there, Tucker. So we're going to nuke Gaza because of its culture? We're going to kill everybody because we don't like their culture? He repeated incredulously. I mean, we kind of did nuke Japan because their culture was to not surrender, right? Wasn't that kind of it? That they wouldn't surrender? Said they wouldn't surrender. They said all these people would die because they'd fight to the last man, and that's why we did it, right? Right? Yeah. There are Christians in Gaza, there's Muslims in Gaza. To say that there's some Gazan cultures that's cohesive. Carlson has been one of MAGA's most outspoken and high-profile supporters, particularly loyal to Trump. But Fine is a Jewish-backed Trump pick who won 83% of the Republican primary vote after the president's endorsement. Randy Fine has my complete total endorsement. Run, Randy, run, Trump said at the time. Well, I don't know. They probably wouldn't have had to get somebody like him if it wasn't such a tight race. I mean, there was all these rumors that they were going to lose, and they almost barely won, and only by 14 points or 15 points, whatever it was. I don't know anything about Randy Fine. He doesn't really sound like he's that fine, though. Fine has a history of bad blood with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has also fallen out with Trump after running against him in the Republican presidential primary. I think these are voters who didn't like Randy Fine, but basically were like, you know what? We're going to take one for the team. The president needs another vote up there, and we're going to do it. DeSantis said of Fine's victory, going on to describe him as a squish. Huh. So he's a squish. You guys aren't. And the Florida congressman doubled down his attacks on Gaza on Monday, sharing a post on Instagram in the wake of the anti-Israeli terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. We need to not be afraid to call evil by its names. Palestinianism. Fine added that his Jewish sons had been picked up on a school since October 7th. Hamas attack, which has led to current conflict in the region. So his kids have been picked on in school, so he wants to nuke people. Okay, maybe we don't want him around any buttons. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so and I got one more story here, which is very interesting. You guys remember the story about the guy, the Boulder terrorist attack, the Egyptian guy who was here illegally? Well, they did arrest his whole family in a bit of if I can find that one. Let me look for it. Yeah, here we go. From the White House. Just in, the wife and 5 children of the illegal alien Mohammed Salman, the suspect in the anti-Semitic firebombing of Jewish Americans, have been captured and now in ICE custody for expedited removal. They could be deported as early as tonight. So I don't, I mean, if they were all here illegally, if they all overstayed their visas, then they all need to go. Go, 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 go. That's just the way it is. Sorry. Do not pass go. Go, go, go. So anyway, so that guy, yeah. So USAID paperwork found in car of Boulder terror attack suspect targeting pro-Israeli group. Mohammed Sabri Salman faces multiple charges after allegedly throwing explosives at pro-Israel protesters in Colorado.
As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across our nation.
So that was a big story Sunday afternoon, just watching the FBI in Boulder, Colorado, as they begin their investigation. I want to come over here and just show you the recent anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic incidents in the United States. Just going over the past 45 days, these are significant too. Back in mid-April, this is when the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, who is
I don't want to get, I don't want Fox to
Jewish,
strike
it was
me or
well
anything.
known that it was Jewish. The governor's mansion was firebombed.
Yeah, so the governor's mansion was firebombed, all this other stuff. Where we go. Paperwork with the word USAID was found in the car of Mohammed Sabri Salman, who was accused of allegedly throwing explosives at a group in Boulder, Colorado, peacefully protesting for the release of Hamas hostages. The incident happened on Sunday as pro-Israeli group Run for Their Lives was protesting on Pearl Street. Boulder police said 8 people were injured in the alleged terror attack, adding that they initially received reports of a man setting people on fire. According to the arrest affidavit, law enforcement officials found paperwork with the words USAID inside Salman's 2015 silver Toyota Prius. Other paperwork with the words Israel and Palestine was also found inside the Toyota Prius, in addition to a red gas container and rags. Senior State Department official told Fox News Digital that Salman isn't a United States Agency for International Development employee. Salman allegedly told federal and local law enforcement officials during an interview that he specifically targeted a Zionist group that gathered in Boulder on June 1st because he wanted to stop them from taking over our land, which he said is Palestine. Salman allegedly said, but I thought this guy was from Egypt. Said he was planning the attack for a year, adding he waited until his daughter graduated. Oh. He specifically targeted the Zionist group that had gathered in Boulder, having learned about the group from an online search, the affidavit stated. According to the document, he left messages to his family, a journal, and an iPhone at his house in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Solomon told law enforcement officials that he would conduct the attack again, authorities said. A black plastic container was found near the location that Solomon was arrested, which contained at least 14 unlit Molotov cocktails, according to the affidavit. Solomon was charged with murder in the first degree. Someone died? I didn't know if someone died. Deliberation with intent, criminal attempt to murder in first degree, extreme indifference, criminal attempt, crimes against at-risk adults, elderly, first degree assault, non-family, first degree assault, heat of passion, criminal attempt to commit class 1 and class 2 felonies, use of explosives or incendiary device during a felony. Well, he's got a problem. Solomon remains in jail on a $10 million bond. He was allegedly heard yelling "Free Palestine." I think that's the same thing the guy yelled when he shot those two Israeli embassy employees outside of that museum in Washington, D.C. about 10 days ago. According to sources who spoke with Fox News, Solomon was in the United States illegally and is an Egyptian national. Wow. Solomon first came to the U.S. on August 27, 2022 on a B-1, B-2 non-immigrant visa that expired in February 2023, but he did not leave. Solomon filed a claim with the United States Citizen and Immigration Services on March 29, 2023, which authorized him to work through March 2025. We're just giving out 2-year work permits, huh? We are aware of the fully investigated terror attack Colorado faced by FDA Director Kash Patel said our authority of agents and local law enforcement are on the scene already, and we will share updates as more information comes available. Wow, I can't believe I knocked all these stories out in an hour and 15 minutes. Oh, this is a strange thing here. Pull this up. Chinese nationals charged with conspiracy and smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the U.S. Yongying Zhong, 33, and Xingyang Liu, 34, both Chinese citizens, face charges of conspiracy, smuggling, false statements, and visa fraud for allegedly bringing Fusarium geranium, a fungus considered a potential agro-terrorism weapon, to the United States through Detroit Metropolitan Airport. This harmful fungus triggers head blight in crops and produces toxins that's harmful to humans and livestock, leading to liver damage and reproductive issues. John, backed by the Chinese government funding, and Liu, a researcher at the Chinese university studying the same pathogens, are implicated. Evidence on Zhong's devices reveals Chinese Communist Party ties. Liu initially denied, but later admitted to smuggling. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's see what else we got here. That's the stroke ones. So this is the thing about renaming the ship, the Harvey Milk ship. I don't see why it's named after him. From what I understand, he didn't even serve a full term in the Navy. At the time he was in the Navy, it was against, you could get court-martialed basically for being homosexual at that time. And so they found out he was a homosexual, and they told him he had to, either resign and get out or get court-martialed, and he got out. So I guess this is interesting. Capitol Police top cop caught cheating on timesheets, got promoted anyway. Okay. What do you mean? What's YouTube censoring in the chat? I don't see anything censored in there, Doc. I don't see anything censored. Okay. A sweeping congressional investigation into the Capitol Police's ability to police its own ranks has turned up a stunner. One of its top executives was caught a decade ago cheating on timesheets and still got promoted. Documents reviewed by Just the News showed that an internal affairs probe into the 2013 concluded that Sean P. Gallagher, currently the assistant chief of police for uniformed operations, was caught submitting false timesheets and forging his boss's signature for approval back when he was a captain. I would think that would be a crime because you're stealing money, aren't you? The investigation concluded that Gallagher approved overtime for himself to which he was not entitled and thus defrauded the government of $1,492.41. Not that much money. In addition to the documents he signed for 2 subordinate lieutenants, resulted in a total loss to the government of more than $10,000, according to the December 18th, 2013 memorandum that the Department of Review officer wrote to the Disciplinary Action Committee. This offensive, egregious, and absent any mitigating factors warrants nothing less than termination. This offense was willful and frequent, occurred on 8 occasions. Captain Gallagher misrepresented his times, forged his supervisor's signature on overtime authorization forms, falsified pay certification sheets, and forged his supervisor's signature on pay certification sheets to defraud the government for significant personal gain. Wow. The memo added he manipulated the department's time and attendance procedures to circumvent 2 U.S.C. 1933, which provides that an exempt employee's pay during any period cannot exceed the equivalent biweekly maximum pay, which is set at 150% of the maximum rate for level 16 of the sworn pay scale. Whatever that means, but it just sounds like a bunch of hibbity-jibbity for them to try to figure out how they're going to rob us of money. The officer who reviewed the case stated that Gallagher did not dispute the facts, but claimed he did not know he was violating department policy. I didn't know it was against department policy for me to steal money. I thought it was completely within policy for me to steal money. That's just the way we do things in the police department. We just steal money, according to that guy. Captain Gallagher claims that he was not aware that his actions were inappropriate. He did not know he was violating policy. The reviewing officer said the claim was worthy of skepticism and noted Gallagher had previously faced an Office of Personnel Responsibilities discipline for an earlier case of forging an officer's signature, supervisor's signature. So he did it more than once, got caught, and they never punished him for it. That sounds strange. Captain Gallagher was one previous OPR case. In OPR 12-105, Captain Gallagher signed various documents for his supervisor and signed his supervisor's name without permission. The matter was resolved, and a CP 550 performance note was issued. This incident demonstrates a clear pattern. Captain Gallagher was forging his supervisor's signature on documents, a practice that led to the government loss in this case. The internal affairs finding against one of the Capitol Police Department's most senior officers covered by staff for Representative Barry Loudermilk, the chairman of the House Administration's Oversight Subcommittee, which reviewed security at the U.S. Capitol in the aftermath of January 6th protest, pride, whatever you want to call it. Loudermilk told Just the News that he believes the next Congress needs to convene a select committee to address security at the Capitol and reform its police force, including creating a more even-handed disciplinary process driven by evidence and rules, not politics. It appears from the information that we've gathered that there's selective discipline within the Capitol Police, and it's not equal, Loudermilk said. They will get a slap. Some will get a slap on the wrist. Some will have their entire disciplinary process overridden by somebody in leadership, and then there's the others who will have evidence that the victim ended up getting a harsher punishment than the perpetrator. We need to make sure that we get this cleaned up and it's working properly. Gallagher, who played a key supervisory role in the aftermath of January 6th Capitol riot, did not respond to multiple requests for comment from Just the News. Loudermilk has told Just the News previously that there were clear failures of intelligence security that preceded the riot, and that the department's ability to evaluate and discipline itself was a matter of growing concern for lawmakers. The memo showed that the review officer, a fellow captain, concluded that Gallagher had been rated as outstanding prior to the timesheet episode, had actually worked the hours he put on the timesheet, and was likely to repeat the offense. We recommend Gallagher repay the money he improperly received and be demoted one rank lieutenant for the violation, a potentially devastating punishment for a rising department star. The review officer also called for Gallagher to be held responsible for misconduct for subordinate officers for allowing them to violate the same policies. In addition to what Captain Gallagher did for himself, he completely failed in his role as a supervisor. Captain Gallagher was charged with enforcing the department's policies and procedures. The evidence demonstrates that Captain Gallagher freely admits that he was well aware of and condoned the actions of both the subordinates who worked for him. He is directly accountable for the misconduct of all 3 respondents in this case, the memo added. If Captain Gallagher were unclear of the policy and procedures, he should have done what any other reasonable commanding officer would have done, which would have been, in this instance, sought directive and guidance from OHR and his chain of command. There is no evidence that Captain Gallagher did either. Loudermilk's team told Just the News that has found no evidence that Gallagher ever faced the demotion. USCP Public Information Office has not responded to requests from comments from the Just the News. In October 2021, Gallagher, along with former acting chief Yoganada, Pittman was also the subject of scathing letter sent to Congress by an anonymous Capitol Police whistleblower who accused the leadership of facilitating intelligence and supervisory failures for and during the riot on January 6th, according to Politico. The failures and inactions of these two prior to what the January 6th unquestionably contributed to the death of officers and serious physical and emotional injuries to hundreds of members of law enforcement. It contributed to the death of citizens, and cause of harm. What? All right, I don't be no. Anyway, well, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's been an hour and a half. I am exhausted. I am basically falling asleep. I'm not giving it my best maneuvers. Probably I've noticed a lot of people dropping out and the numbers going down because I know I'm not bringing it today, and I apologize. Tomorrow's another day. Hopefully Joe will stream. Maybe I'll stream with them. Maybe I won't. It's up to Joe. But I want to wish everybody a happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday. I hope everyone enjoys their days and the weather is good and everything stays good. Thanks for coming by, and let Jim tell you the news.